Good morning, Metro City Church. I'm your girl, Pastor Tiffany Carroll Brown, here to give you your devotions this morning. Thank you so much for coming and being on time. Those of you who are a part of the Metro City family, or if you have the Metro City app, which you can get on your app store under Metro City Atlanta. It's a big turquoise M, white M with a turquoise circle around it. You can get it there, and for the next 21 days, actually 20 days at this point, we'll be doing devotions together. Bishop Johnson has put down some devotions there, so if you would, go ahead and find those, read those, talk to the Lord about those things, and it's going to be awesome. Those of you who are not a part of our family quite yet, I do have something that hopefully will inspire you to talk to the Lord. We are in a season of talking about critical conversations. Your bishop, your pastor is concerned about your family. And as Elder Ewell preached on Sunday, it was a fire message. You do want to go on Metro City ATL right here and look at the message from Sunday. It was really fire. In fact, I'm going to take two things from it today to hopefully inspire you regarding your devotions this morning. Remember, devotions is a place where I am changed because I am devoted to God. And so as we devote ourselves to God today, it's not just in prayer every morning, but it is also in what we do in our decisions every day. And one of those decisions is super important that you have the critical conversations that you need to, because as Elder Ewell preached on Sunday, he said that that life, relationships are lived within the confines of conversations. And so I just wanted to inspire you regarding these things. You know, they can be really, really tough to have, especially with people that you love, people that you are close to, or people that you want to be close to. A conversation is the best place to do that. And so one thing Elder Ewell talked about, and I want you to go and find that space. He talked about communication villains or something like that. Man, I know I found myself in like at least 3 or 4 of them. And I'm going to do my best to do better regarding that. But the other thing that he talked about was communication is a sacrifice. Hebrews 13:16. This was the verse that my father broke open for my family, my brothers, and I and my mom before we had a critical conversation as a family. He broke this verse out, and then he asked us some interesting conversations, some interesting questions that really. First of all, there were convicting questions, questions like what was in his life or that we had seen that he had done that it caused us to cause sin to be easy for us. Man, you really have to have courage to ask your children these types of questions. But what he talked about when we had this conversation was that communication is a sacrifice. This is what it says, Hebrews 13:16, and it says, "And do not neglect doing good and sharing, for with such sacrifices God is pleased." You know, I am not a very automatically open person. I am one of those people who has to kind of feel comfortable before I just open my life, or at least need a great question and good timing. Good timing is pretty important for me. I've got to have good timing, and sometimes you can have a good question and bad timing, and it's difficult for me to get into all that I need to. But when relationships are what they are, when they're good for me, well, those who are close to me know to ask a good question. Once I get a good question, I'm pretty open. I'm not secretive or anything like that. I just need a little prodding, a little bit of pumping, and I'm trying to grow and mature in that, especially because I'm married now. Sometimes jokers just don't know what questions to ask, and just being a difference between being a man and a woman and all of that. And so it's interesting. This verse says, don't neglect to do that. And it's very important that you don't neglect to have the conversations that you need to have. They are vital for relationships to thrive, to grow, to advance, to move on. You got to have those critical, those tough conversations, and sometimes you need a question, but sometimes you really just kind of need to say, you know what, I need to say this, and I need to get this off of my chest, and then have courage to say it. He said, don't neglect in doing this. And he says, for such sacrifices, the sacrifices that happen when you talk is your own pride, sometimes maybe even your own sin. Shame is something that you may have to sacrifice. Your ability to say what you really need. I don't know what that is in our humanity. Sometimes it's really difficult to say what you need. My best friend, she don't have a problem with saying what she needs. When she says what she says, she means exactly what she says. You don't have to ask her again. It's what it is. And I'm learning to be that way as well. But some people just need just a little bit more help of saying what they need. And that sacrifice of opening that up before you get a question is a sacrifice. It's tough sometimes, especially when you don't know how the person is going to respond, especially when you don't know how it's going to come out. So I want to admonish you to give the sacrifice. And the last part of this verse, it says that God is pleased with the sacrifice. Jesus wasn't the only one who had to sacrifice. In fact, his sacrifice teaches us what to do. And so I want you to follow Jesus's example and have those difficult, those critical conversations, because life and the life of a relationship is within critical conversations. And sometimes the conversations aren't really deep as much as you just need to hang out and talk. I was just in the facilitating of a conversation with one of my favorite families, and it was so gut-wrenchingly tough. But I believe God met us in that conversation, and parents and father and parents were turned to their child. And I believe the child was turned back. The heart of the child was turning back to the parents. And I'm looking forward to God finishing all of that. If you want that for your own personal family, then I charge you. I challenge you. I challenge you to don't neglect doing good and sharing. Make the sacrifice because God is pleased. And so this morning, when you're talking to the Lord, and when He's when you've opened your heart to Him, and maybe He'll bring some faces of some people, some friends, some family that you may need to have a conversation with this holiday season. Obviously, it's a tough time for a lot of people, and so don't be a part of what makes it tough. Why don't you be a part of what makes it joyful? Be a part of what makes, or turning it from it being tough to something that people can learn from, that people can grow from. And I bet you God will do something in you as well. And so I love my church because we don't just give you messages that make you feel good, but we are convicted in our hearts. We are challenged as leaders because we want you to accomplish your call, your purpose, and your assignment. And I promise you, the first assignment that God has for you is for you to be a light, to be a lamp for your family. And so you may be the only one in your family that believes in Jesus Christ and is living a life as best you can that pleases Him. But who gives a rip if your family is going to hell in a handbasket? Who cares if when they see your life, they really don't want to live like that? And I promise you, these critical conversations are going to be exactly what you need for God to push it through. I was just talking to another friend of mine who needs to have some critical conversations. It was last night. I talked to a friend of mine, and she really needs to have a critical conversation because it feels like her stepson's life is at stake, and she can risk it all and look crazy, or really have love and compassion and say something. So you're not the only one who is going through certain things. You need to be a part of what changes things. That's what we're supposed to be doing as people of God. We are responsible to be a part of the solution. Don't be quiet and perpetuate the problem. It's unnecessary. And I promise you, if something happens and you could have had the conversation, but you didn't, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. And so I want to encourage you to make the sacrifice. Sacrifices means something has to die. Sacrifices are bloody. Sacrifices are not comfortable. But this verse says that God is pleased with the sacrifice when you give and when you share with the people that you love. And so I want to admonish you this week, today, when you have your daily devotions, when you speak to the Lord, let the names and the faces of the people pass before your imagination, and determine that you'll start 23 strong by having had the conversations that you need to have. I know a lot of people are off on holidays. I know Frederick and I are off next couple of weeks, and I'm really enjoying just talking. We've been having some great conversations about money and our relationship and what kind of parents we want to be. And these critical conversations are going to set us up to be even a better couple. And so I'm in here with you. You're not alone. I'm in here with you doing what we're supposed to do. And so I just, hopefully that inspires you. So when you have your own personal daily devotions today, I love you. I want you to do better. Now, get off my line and go talk. You know what? Before I say that, remember, this coming Sunday, we will not be in the building. We'll be online, 10 o'clock. The service will be there. It's going to be awesome worship. Bishop Johnson has a message, and it's going to be dope on the 25th, which is next Sunday. And then on the 1st, January 1, we will be in the building in person, but at 12 o'clock. So turn up, but not too up. All right? Now, get off my line and go talk to the Lord.